So welcome everyone. My name is Diane Morin, and I oversee the Aztec Mentor Program, and it's so great to see you today to our first ever virtual event, Amplify Your Career Experience, Succeeding During the Pandemic. I'm just working on my slides here. AMP is a partnership for success, and that success involves working with the SDSU Alumni Office and our partners, and also Career Services. I am based out of Career Services, and we are now part of the Division of Student Affairs and Campus Diversity. But ultimately, the success of our partnership is because of all of you. We could not do this without our wonderful mentors and our students. So thank you everyone for your participation today. A little bit about AMP, a few statistics. We currently have over 1,800 mentors, and they live in 41 states and 18 countries. You don't have to live in San Diego. Our Aztecs are all over. 70% are alumni and professionals, and then 30% are friends, parents, faculty, and staff. To date, we have matched over 11,000 students to mentors, and we are very proud of it, and we are in our 7th year. Here is our wonderful AMP team. I am going to shortly introduce my boss, Dr. James Tarbucks, but also we have Danya Johanna and Imani Bush, our two amazing student assistants who are helping manage today, but you will notice if you email us, they might respond to you as well. So with that said, James, I want to turn it over to you, who will then introduce our MC, and then Antoine, who will then introduce our wonderful panelists for today.
Thank you, Diane. I hope you all can hear me. I wanted to let you know my pronouns are he, him, his. I am the Executive Director for the Career Center, and I'm so thrilled that we're able to offer AMP to all of you. I did want to extend a few thanks before we get started, and so please know that I've got a bit of a list here, but I promise to go through it quickly. One of the things I wanted to mention about this program is what it does is, our hope is what it will do is to allow you to remain adaptable, innovative, and intentional in your careers as you move through this pandemic and as you develop yourself as a professional. I first and foremost want to thank our panelists and our MC. So we have Amber Frankhusen, who is the CEO and founder of AF Marketing. We have Trevor Olson, who is here from LinkedIn as an HR business partner. We have Anna Cristina Moreno, who is here from NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, who's a systems engineer. Michael Cave, who's from the state of California and serves as an IT manager. I'm going to say a little bit more about Antoine Stevens Phillips, who's our MC. He actually works here on campus in just a moment. But I also wanted to make sure that I did a big thank you to Diane and the rest of the AMP team. So Diane mentioned that she is the person who coordinates AMP, everything AMP, and you can go to Diane with any questions that you have regarding AMP. But Danya, Yahuna, and Imani Bush are also here to support you as well. They're the student assistants that make this run. We do have partners in the SDSU, the Office of SDSU Alumni, Adam Amolia and Mallory McNeil. And then I also wanted to mention that several of our staff are here. I saw a few of them: Melissa Gonzalez, Natalia Petticourt, Bobby Gray, and Claudia Martinez. I'm sure that there are others there as well. Once the people started to show up, it was like, wow, hard to keep track of this. But please know that they're here and that they're here for your support. So that's very, very important. I also saw from campus Thelma Chavez. So thank you, Thelma, for joining us. Now, before I turn it over to Antoine, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a bio about him because he's quite the impressive individual. Antoine Stevens Phillips comes from a poverty-induced community in Detroit, Michigan. He was invited, I believe about a decade ago, by his uncle to come to San Diego. And when he got to San Diego, he immediately took advantage of higher education. In fact, he recently completed his master's degree in higher ed here at San Diego State University. Currently, Antoine works with our center, Career Services, and with Communication Services for the Division of Student Affairs and Campus Diversity. It's an absolute joy to have Antoine on our team and working with us. He's our MC for the evening, so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Antoine.
James, thank you so much for the introduction. And I just want to say that I am very excited to be the MC for this AMPlify event, this AMPlify virtual event. And I look forward to asking our panelists some very meaningful and pressing questions that I'm pretty sure will benefit our students, our alumni, and our community at large, as well as faculty who are on this call. So thank you again, James, for introducing me. And so what I will do is I will go directly into introducing some of the panelists here. So again, as James said, we have some phenomenal SDSU alumni here representing sales and marketing. We have Amber Frankhusen. She's the founder and CEO of AF Marketing, representing our LinkedIn panelists. We have Trevor Olson. He's a HR business partner. As far as building your network, discussing that, we have Anna Cristina Marino, NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory systems engineer. And amazing thing, later on we'll talk about the theme of the career guide handbook that just came out. And last but definitely not least, we have Michael Cave, who will be talking and leading our Adapt Technology, who works for the state of California and is an IT manager. Amber of Sales and Marketing. How you doing, Amber? Are you there?
Good, I'm here. Hi, Antoine. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Amber, during our, we had a conversation, with yourself and some of the other panelists. And one of the things that you talked about wanting to share with the students is that when you graduated in 2009, you graduated during a crisis. And so a lot of our students, are experiencing that right now with some of the challenges we have going on. So Amber, I definitely wanted you to can you speak about what sales and marketing tools you applied, during, that challenging time around 2009 and how, what our students can learn from that experience today?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Antoine. Again, I graduated from San Diego State with a business major. I specialized in marketing in 2009, like Antoine mentioned. And some of you might remember, but if you're younger in college and you were not paying attention or it wasn't affecting you, you might not remember there was a global financial crisis in 2008 and 2009, just like there is a global pandemic going on right now. Same, but different, right? They both have their own unique challenges, but needless to say, it was not a good time to be looking for a job in 2009 as a graduate. Not to mention that when I was in school, I was that person that changed their major like 14 times. I was officially and unofficially like a marketing major, a management major, poli-sci, graphic design, and psychology. So if anybody out there that's in college or has graduated was one of those people, like, just know you're not alone. Let me know in the chat box. I want to come back and follow up with you guys later and see. Let me know if you've changed your major or you have no freaking idea what to do, because you're not alone. That was me. So I didn't know what to do in 2009. And I just thought, my mother and my grandmother were both in the same career. They did very well, and I'm going to follow in their footsteps. And get into real estate. And if you don't remember, that pandemic or that recession was all driven by the implosion of the real estate market. So needless to say, I was struggling. I was sometimes working 3 jobs. I was struggling to pay rent sometimes, guys. And I just want you to know that that was normal for me. And I'm so glad that everybody is here in this presentation today, because the point of showing up to things like this is so that you can get the tips to skip the struggle. I don't want anybody to go through what I went through. It was really hard. So I hope that today you walk away with some takeaways and some, action items so that you don't have to struggle like we did in 2009. So Antoine, back to your question about sales and marketing. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but again, I want to know in the chat, let me know, did you have to work while you were in college, or are you working while you're in college? Because I did not have the luxury of not working while I was in college. I had to work to pay my rent. I had to work to pay my tuition. I had to work. So the only jobs that I could get were in sales. And I loved sales because you could control your income. It was often a commission-based structure. And I'm talking about, like, I did retail sales when I was in high school. I worked in a skate shop, putting grip tape on skateboards and selling snowboards. And P.S., I've been snowboarding one time in my life. I worked at a tanning salon in college. And you guys, please don't go to tanning salons. They're terrible for you. But I was selling $100 bottles of lotion with absolutely no shame. I was doing whatever I could do to make ends meet, because at the end of the day, having the skill of sales can apply to everything in your life. Because once you have that down, I mean, you're always selling. You're selling whether you're at work or you're selling a product, you're selling your boss on an idea, you're selling your boyfriend on why you want to watch your reality TV show instead of what he wants to watch. Like, you're always in sales. So it's such an important skill to learn. But for me, I just love marketing. I love marketing because it really has to do a lot with the psychology of humans and understanding what humans need, and diving deep into how you can help fulfill those needs. So there's a major connection as it relates to sales and marketing and getting an actual job. Antoine, I think that's where we're going next, right?
Yes. How does that skill set land you an actual job in today's virtual economy?
I think so. Just again, I told you guys my background of while I was in college. After I graduated from college, like I said, I want you guys to skip the struggle and get to the good stuff. Well, it took me a couple of years to get to the good stuff. And my first good job was in real estate development. And I started as a salesperson, and I worked my way up to a manager in that company. And some of you guys at San Diego State might know one of the projects I worked on. You might have been there or lived there or partied there, but if you're familiar with Boulevard 63, I managed the lease up of that property while it was under construction. So I would go into a construction site, communicate with the construction teams, and then come back and sell the product to the end consumer. And at my job after with that company, I worked and started as a marketing assistant for a firm in Encinitas. I'm in Carlsbad now, but in Encinitas, I started as a marketing assistant, and I worked my way up to vice president of sales and marketing. And I achieved that title at the age of 29. I was the only woman on the executive team, and I was the youngest on the executive team. How did I do that? I freaking sold myself every step of the way. I had to come in and say, I can add value to your company now, and I'm going to continue to do that. And I did. So my biggest takeaway from all of this is right now, I really encourage everybody to kind of think like a marketer while they're looking for jobs and applying for jobs. In marketing, we talk a lot about putting yourself in your customer's shoes, right? You're a marketer, you're 100% focused on what your customer needs from you, and then positioning your product or service to be the solution, right? So this goes for companies like Nike or Zoom or San Diego State. These are all companies that are selling a product, right? It's shoes, it's software, it's education. And their job as a marketer is to meet the needs of their customer. You want this shoe, pick the Nike shoe over the Adidas shoe. You want this education, pick San Diego State over another university. You're always positioning yourself and speaking directly to what your customer needs from you, right? So with COVID and as a job seeker, I challenge you, are you putting yourself in your customer's shoes? You are the product you are selling. You are the thing for sale, and you're responsible for marketing yourself. So now that things are changing so rapidly, I really encourage people to put that marketing hat on and be thinking about what their customer needs from them. Now, who's your customer? It's the hiring manager, or it's the person offering the internship. It's whoever you're trying to get a job from, right? So consider what these employers need right now, right? They're trying to fill a role because there's work to do. They need help. They're overwhelmed. They're busy. They need somebody to take care of responsibilities. And things have changed so quickly. Now people are moving to digital over brick and mortar, or they're needing to communicate virtually. There's all of these new needs that are coming up in the market. And let me drop a bomb just really quick. In the last month and a half, I think I've interviewed 20 college students and recent grads. I just opened up 2 internships and filled them at my company. But let me drop a bomb. Nobody owes you a job, okay? If you're gonna be getting a job, you need to come in with a way to give value. So your big job when you're going to interview with somebody, or you're trying to communicate this on your resume, is how are you gonna add value to that company, okay? You need to fill the needs of the business, right? So, and let me just pause for a second because I wanna address this. I've seen the memes where they're like, you know, how can I apply for a job that requires 15 years of experience when I don't have that? You don't need to have the years of experience if you have the skills or a way to add value. So I think if we're going to break it down into some action items for you guys, figure out how you can add value, practice how you can add value, practice that skill set, and then communicate it, right? So if we talk about like, how do you add value? We talk about how the world's changing. We're all going virtual. You guys, you're all in college right now on Zoom all day, every day. You should be the Zoom masters, okay? There are so many people out here that are really struggling because the technology isn't intuitive to them. You can support that. Businesses going from brick and mortar to online sales. Can you help them build a Shopify site? I guarantee you can, because if you've ever used the internet, you can figure out Shopify, okay? People need more social media support. People are at home on the internet more. They need a presence. You guys are, it's native to you. You're native to these languages, so you can absolutely offer value. And again, with the memes, like, you guys, it is true. There are people out there that do not know how to rotate a PDF. Okay, I have rotated many a PDF for many a baby boomer. And I guarantee you it comes easy to you because you know it, but that's something that it's so small, you have technological skills, right? And there's other skills you should be developing in this time, right? You're the product you're selling. Do you really know your skill set? If you haven't done it yet, I recommend going online, taking a skills assessment. There's one called the Strengths Profile Assessment that I love. It's so helpful. Take your Enneagram test, take your Myers-Briggs, understand what your skill set is and how you work so that you can develop that skills, right? If you're on social media, are you microblogging? Can you show that you can grow your own Instagram audience? Can you show that you can set up a Squarespace site? Are you a creative? Can you make a portfolio so that when you go to an employer, you have something to show for it? So it's all about practicing that skill set. You know, one of the things, especially we talk about getting visible in marketing, and if you're going to be practicing, you know, we're on Zoom all dang day, right? We're always on Zoom now. And I know a lot of you guys, and I learned this from interviewing all these college students the last couple of weeks, a lot of people are just black screens on their Zoom calls, okay? Your poor professors are talking to a wall. So how can you practice getting visible? Turn your camera on. If you're a black screen right now, I invite you without judgment to join us here, and we will quietly celebrate the fact that this is the time that you turn on your screen and just practice having it on, because that's the type of practice that we're talking about. Practice speaking to people, have your friends and family fake interview you. This is the time to practice in private. And then what was the last thing I said? We talked about, communicating it all, right? Yeah. So now's the time to do an audit. Google your name, see what comes up. Make sure your LinkedIn profile picture is clear, your TikTok's cleaned up. If you've been doing the walk dance on TikTok, you better put that on private, okay? Because as an employer, I am looking for those things. I am looking to see what's up. So now's the time for you to make adjustments so that you can position yourself and market yourself as an incredible asset, filling the need of the person that's looking for you, because they're looking for you, you guys. So when we're talking about presentation, it's all about getting the opportunity to get in to make the sale. Marketing is the billboard, the commercial, the print ad. It's your resume, your LinkedIn, your Instagram. And then you get the opportunity to go sell yourself. And I can tell you guys from interviewing so many people, and I've hired maybe over 100 college students in my career, your peers are not doing the work. So if you do the work, you can stand out. I promise you that. So it's the time to practice at home. And if you need more resources, you guys know that the answers to life can be found on Google. I really encourage you to get started. Thanks, Antoine. I'll kick it back to you.
Very awesome, Amber. Thank you so much for just dropping that knowledge on us. I totally agree that we are in a time where, you know, our students, you know, if they really want to stand out in this time, you know, they really have to think about creative ways and innovative ways to market themselves. You know, our talents are only going to be known as far as we project them and we sell them. So thank you again. And as we wrap up the program, I'll definitely return to you for some last words of wisdom.
Absolutely. Thanks, Antoine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so moving on, we're moving on to our second panelist. We're going to discuss LinkedIn with Trevor Olson, again, HR business partner. I just want to throw some couple highlights from Trevor. Trevor is, again, he's staying up in the San Diego region. He's a part of the HR department with LinkedIn. One of the cool things about Trevor is he's passionate about mentoring students and wants to make sure to make himself available to those students who would like his help and assistance and guidance through into grad school and through grad school. And I think that's wonderful because any student who sees themselves going to grad school needs a mentor. And Trevor is a wonderful person to do that. So definitely want to just ask you a couple questions, Trevor. What advice do you have for students and recent alumni who want to qualify themselves in entering the human resources field?
Yeah, thanks, Antoine. So happy to be here participating in this panel. And Amber, great job kicking this off. I think there's a lot of great stuff in there that everyone, even including the panelists, can take advantage of from how to find that next play. We call it LinkedIn, right? That next opportunity that you're looking for. You know, my area of specialty is in HR. I know not everyone on this call has a career aspirations in HR, and honestly, when I was at San Diego State, neither did I. You know, I came in with no idea what I wanted to do, and I found my way into the psychology major out of, you know, curiosity more than anything, and then took an intro to industrial and organizational psychology course, which really kind of opened up my eyes to the way that psychology plays such a powerful role in companies. And so that's what kind of led me down the path of HR and went on to grad school after graduation. And similar to Amber, I came out of grad school in 2009 with a master's degree and really a pretty poor job market to try and find a job in. And fortunately, you know, I really gravitated towards LinkedIn as a product, as a tool for me. I became very focused on making sure my profile was up to date. I had my thesis posted there. I had recommendations and referrals from professors and different people I had worked with. I had samples of work products that I had created that were visible and publicly shared there so that anyone who I was applying to could easily access that all in one place. So that's a little bit about that journey for me in HR. You know, I think one of the things that kind of drew me to it initially, the opportunity to work in basically every industry, every geography. You can basically do it with any background. You know, having a background in psychology is helpful, but for anyone who's sort of looking for something that can take them, you know, to wherever they want to live, or, you know, into any industry that you're interested in, HR is a great way to do that. And with a little sort of hard work and networking, it's certainly possible to find jobs in that area. You know, for me, growing up in the Bay Area, I definitely wanted to move back, and so pursued my grad school degree at San Jose State, which already started to establish a strong network within the tech sector in the Silicon Valley. So that's what initially drew me back up to the Bay Area. You know, one note I made in listening to Amber kind of talk about the way that you market it yourself in the interview process reminded me of just the importance of that initial referral. I can tell you the majority of my career changes and my job changes were the result of strong referrals into roles and opportunities, and not necessarily from people that I am like best friends with or I worked closely with for 5 years, but just people that I met even through professional networks or through other, third parties, and starting to just maintain a friendship and a professional relationship on LinkedIn through, commenting on their posts and sharing research. And eventually when opportunities open up, they think of you because they've got a relationship with you. And so, it's always easier to try and sell yourself when you've got that initial credibility with the person that you're interviewing with. And they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt if you've got that referral. So I'm a strong proponent of using your networks for that purpose. So that's a little bit of the initial question. So was there a follow-up, Antoine, or do you want to?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to follow up with that and ask, other than making personal connections and cultivating those relationships, and so whether it helps a student or a young professional secure a position, or what you share with me in helping navigate students into grad school and through grad school, what other ways can LinkedIn be used to help students secure a job in this economy, in this current state we're in?
Yeah, sure. I mean, LinkedIn is a huge platform now. There's over 700 million profiles on LinkedIn. There's over 50 million companies, 200 million jobs are currently posted. I mean, there's a ton of available opportunities through LinkedIn. In addition to that, there's a whole LinkedIn learning platform that's available to everybody, not just, we sell a package to companies for LinkedIn Learning, but there's a ton of free content out there, learning modules, learning paths that can help prepare you for pretty much any career that you're interested in pursuing. So, if you're at a crossroads in your career looking to potentially switch industries, there's a ton of available content and skills development that can be gained through LinkedIn Learning. And then just following the companies that you're interested in can be a great way to kind of unlock what really they're looking for, right? Amber talked about kind of understand how you can sell yourself, how you can add value. Well, the more that you know about a company, the better you're going to be able to speak to the needs of that company in an interview. So just following companies on LinkedIn and getting a sense of like what they're doing, what they're talking about, the products that they're selling, all of that's really useful and helps you kind of speak to your value proposition in the interview when you have that kind of familiarity with the company. And then I'd say another underutilized resource is sort of the InMail feature, which is just a direct email correspondence with anyone on the platform, not even necessarily someone that you're connected to. I have a lot of people who send me direct InMails, and in a lot of times it comes across like a cold call type situation, right? I don't know this person, but when you come across really genuine and you're looking to just gain information about an industry or a role or something in your background that kind of connects with them, I'll always respond. If nothing else, to say, now's really a busy time for me, follow back up in a couple of weeks. I'd love to just chat with you. And if they're really serious and committed, they'll reach back out, right? Giving them an opportunity to show that they're on top of things and that they care. But I absolutely would encourage people to take that opportunity to reach out to people in roles and companies that they're interested in, just to set up an informational interview. Could be 30 minutes, especially now with everything being online. It's, before, a lot of times you're trying to get in front of someone face to face. It'd be really hard for them to set aside the time, but with everything being virtual now, I can find time for a 15-minute conversation over Zoom, get that initial feedback, and then if it's something that feels like there's some alignment there, happy to schedule a follow-up. So don't be shy with InMails. Make sure you're following companies, and then take advantage of LinkedIn Learning. There's a lot on there that can be beneficial for your career development.
Very cool, very cool. Thank you, Trevor. I really appreciate you sharing those last tips. From my own experience, I can definitely say that After finishing grad school, I relied heavily on LinkedIn as well as on some of my mentors who, they play a role behind the scenes in the AMP program, but they definitely played a very important role in me making a smooth transition, as smooth as possible, from grad school to my first year as a professional. So thank you again. And as I share with Amber, I'll definitely be returning to you for some last words of wisdom.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Okay, so moving on to our third panelist, who will be discussing ways in which we can build our network. We're going to talk with Ana Cristina Marino, who is a systems engineer with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. A couple very interesting points about Ana. She was a AMP student as well as being an AMP mentor now. She is currently working on the Jet Propulsion Laboratory Avionics Mars team, and she's currently pursuing a master's in aeronautical engineering. So, Ana, how you doing?
Hey, Antoine, I'm doing good. Thank you.
Very cool. Very cool. So I wanted to just jump into the questions and just ask you, what advice do you have for students who want to qualify for internships and jobs with JPL?
Yeah, that's a great question. And being that I graduated 3 years ago, I really hope that I can still relate to the students now and give you guys some good advice and feedback for how to work at JPL, whether it's an internship full-time or how to just get your dream job. So I think the first thing, in being that this is kind of the more networking section, is, where do you start? Sometimes you just don't even know where to start when you get to school. And so the first thing I did was I joined MESA. And MESA was kind of my foundation for networking, for tutoring, for mentorship, anything that I really needed. And I think from there is where I expanded. And so then going back to JPL, the main things that they look for are a 3.0 GPA. That might be that might be many companies or a lot of engineering companies, but you have to have a 3.0 to work at JPL. And they work for hands-on experience, which could be clubs or research. And those are the two main things that will really help you get that internship or that job at JPL. And so for me, my path to that, after I joined MESA, they really helped me with my confidence in meeting new people in the industry. And after meeting a few people in the industry, that's when I realized what I wanted to do, which was space exploration. I majored in space, and I thought I wanted to work on planes, but slowly that changed the more people that I was talking to. So I ended up joining just about every club you could imagine at SDSU, not just engineering. So I was a member of Associated Students, Rotaract, and then joined the Rocket Project team, Baja, which was an off-road racing. You build like a little buggy and race it internationally. And then I joined some networking type clubs like SWE, which is the Society of Women in Engineering, as well as Tau Beta Pi, which was the Honor Society. So I did a little bit of everything, and I think that got me the experience that I needed and that JPL wanted for working there, as well as continuing to work on my grades and maintain that 3.0 GPA or better. And then what really brought it all together, I think, was when I met my mentor, who works at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and just spoke about how passionate I was about with everything I did, even if it wasn't engineering. I was just able to get my first internship, and that led to my full-time career now.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for sharing. You know what? You were involved in a lot. So I definitely want to say that it's really cool to hear that in addition to putting in the hard work in the classroom, you were very active and very dynamic outside of the classroom, making sure your co-curricular experience was an important part of your total package as a candidate, so very cool. Thank you for sharing that. So my second question for you is, what advice do you have for women and women of color who want to enter and succeed in engineering?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that the main thing, at least for me, is confidence. The fact that you already are pursuing this degree in engineering, I think confidence is huge. You don't really pick engineering as a backup or as maybe as you're trying to figure out what you want to do. So the fact that you're already starting in this career path is amazing. And I know that when you're going to get to your classrooms, you're going to join these clubs and eventually internship and work full time. You're there for a reason. You know, if you get a leadership within a club, you're going to be selected because you're the best person for the job. Same with an internship, or when you're, you know, presenting data at a meeting when you're working full time, you're there for a reason. And as long as you have that confidence instilled in you and you never, you know, let go of that, I think that's just so important. And I've really had to learn that for myself, because that it was difficult at a time, being one of, I guess, one of 3 females in my class of like 80. So it was difficult. And that also, you know, going back to the mentorship thing, I have always had a female mentor. I've had both female and male mentors, but the female mentors in engineering I can really relate to, and I can, you know, go to them and ask, you know, how did you deal with this situation or that specific situation? So that's really helped me as well.
Very cool. And because we have 5 minutes left, I'm going to ask an additional question. So as far as the Mars avionics project, what is the most exciting part about that for you?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I've had the opportunity to work on all aspects of the Mars rover, which I think is really cool. As an intern, I got to work on the electrical hardware of the brain of the rover. And then now I work on the software side, integrating the software with the hardware, and working in a test bed that we work on the rover that stays on Earth. So it's kind of like the twin to the rover, all the way up to working launch operations for when we launch the rover. And I don't know if I can pick one specific part that was exciting, but probably launch, because it's just like seeing, you know, in a sense, you're like this little baby that you've been working on for so many years. And now it's kind of out of your hands, and you have to trust that all the testing that you did is going to work, because you put, you know, your whole heart and soul into this project every single day. So it was almost like a little bit of relief, but I think once landing comes in February, that will probably be the most rewarding and exciting part for me.
Very cool. Get a chance to collect some data and you know, get some new prototypes and all that good stuff. Very cool. Very cool. So what I will do is we have 4 minutes left. So I kind of wanted to pick your brain a little more as far as helping students secure internships and jobs with JPL. Do you have like any additional advice as to how students might go about that?
Yeah. So I guess the first thing to note too, there's multiple NASA centers all over the United States. So I think I'll start with more that aspect, because that's where I started. So I basically, at my second year at SDSU, I Googled NASA internships. And they changed the website now. I need to figure out the new name for it. But if you Google it, you'll find it. And you could apply. It's a one-stop shop website to apply to every single NASA center. And that's how I got my first internship at NASA Armstrong. And they dealt more with high-speed flight, whereas the Jet Propulsion Laboratory is robotics. But specifically for JPL, to get an internship at JPL, I would recommend just applying online, or the second thing being mentoring. Going on LinkedIn, reaching out to an engineer, seeing if there's any SDSU alum on AMP that work for JPL. They can really help you get into JPL, since it is such a big place to work. And once you're in at JPL, the amazing thing is there's such a good network of people there that will really help you try to get your full-time job after your internship.
Very cool, very cool. Thank you for sharing those additional pieces. And as I share with the other panelists, I will definitely come back and get some final words of wisdom from you, Anna. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And so next we're going to transition to our fourth panelist, Michael Cave, who works for the state of California, is an IT manager, and he's going to talk to us about adapting and embracing technology during these times. So, hey, Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Antoine. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So my first question for you, Michael, is what advice do you have for students and professionals who might want to enter or transition into the IT field?
Well, that's a pretty loaded question, but it's a great question. And Amber and Trevor and even Anna Christina, they have all touched on so many different things, but we're here talking about one core concept, and that is mentoring. And we're talking about people and connecting people. So my strongest advice, I have 4 things on this question, would be to find a good mentor. And I'm going to lean in on that one. Find a good mentor. Not all mentors are created equal. So you're talking about your future. You're talking about your career. You're charting your destiny. So you might want to take an opportunity to interview people that you might feel could be a good match for you. Don't just settle on the first person that offers something to you. Interview some people, shop around. It's just like when you're getting quotes for work on your house or getting quotes for work on your car, you're going to shop around to get the best deal for you. So that is extremely important. And mentoring is something that has been a key component to my success in my entire career. I was actually mentored by baby boomers. And these were people that saw something in me. They saw that I had the ability to see the big picture, that I was personable. They saw all the things that were a part of my core. So that's why I mentioned interview people, but find a good mentor, because that's going to help you. And you don't need to wait until you get your first job to find a mentor. You can have multiple mentors at multiple stages of your career. So if you're looking for a job, as Trevor hinted, you could look in the area that you want to work at for people that want to help you. And you start having that dialogue, and you really have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. Amber touched on something with regards to Zoom and not being on camera. There's all sorts of reasons why people don't want to be on camera. However, this is something where if you're going to grow, you have to challenge yourself. You have to challenge your internal processes. You have to challenge the process. So getting a mentor is highly recommended. The next thing that I want to tell you all is to remember that every single day is an interview. No matter what, every day is an interview. Amber touched on this already. People are potentially looking at your social media footprint and evaluating the kinds of things that you post. So you want to be very careful. You want to be very mindful of the image that you're putting out there. And when you get a job, build those relationships, because every day is an interview. You never know when you're going to need someone to help you out. And you never know when someone's going to need something in terms of skills that you have. So you'll find that navigating relationships is something that you're going to want to get good at as you start your career journey. And you're going to want to nurture and develop your people skills. So just be mindful that every day is an interview. The third thing is something that I want to share with you all about mastering the art of a 45-second elevator speech. So let me share something with you. I've been working for the state of California for almost 19 years in November of 2020. So this is all I know, government. But my first state job, I was in the elevator, and I was so excited to have been offered a job. I was at a pretty decent level, and I was in the elevator with somebody. And he says, "Hey, how you doing?" And I was so excited that I just spilled my heart out about what I was going to be working on, how I liked working with customers, how I read everything on the website, and I felt that I was going to be a really good fit. I had no clue who I was talking to. I was talking to the CIO of the organization that I was working for. So if I had gone a different way with what I was saying, like, oh, I didn't sleep well, I was nervous, that's not the kind of energy that I wanted to put out there. So just be mindful of when you have an opportunity in an elevator with somebody, it's kind of an opportunity to do a sales pitch. So you want to be memorable. So there's certain things that you want to say. If there's an opportunity to strike up a conversation, you might be in the elevator with the director of LinkedIn or the director of HP. It doesn't really matter. You just never know who your audience is. So you want to put your authentic self out there. I saw that flowing through the chat several times. The last thing that I'm going to leave you with is something that I call the 100% over 100% agreement. And that's with yourself. So what that means is to ask for 100% of what you need 100% of the time without expecting to get any of it. And think about what that means if you're trying to get into IT. So you might have a goal as far as where you want to be salary-wise out the gate. Chances are that's not necessarily realistic. So you're going to have to potentially settle for less, but you could still ask for what you feel that you need. And what you're going to find is by asking for everything that you need, there's going to be some negotiation that happens or no negotiation. There could be, you get 100% of it, 50% of it, 75% of it, but at least you asked. You don't have to beat yourself up about, oh, I should have asked for what I needed. So if you're trying to get into IT, you might want a mentor. You might have to settle for a different type of mentor that gives you 50% of what you need. You might ask your employer about training. There might not be any training dollars. They might say, here's a book. They might say, sorry, we're going to throw you into the fire. These are all things that as you go through your career, you'll learn that you want to ask for everything that you need and just not expect to get any of it. But you'll be surprised when you ask the kind of confidence that brings and how it puts you in the best possible position to negotiate. So those are 4 things that I'm leaving with folks that are trying to get into IT and starting out their career.
Thank you, Michael. That was some very good advice. Thank you. So here's a follow-up question to you. So for students who are taking classes online, possibly working online, they're getting accustomed to their computer and the Zoom program pretty well. What ways can they, just disconnect and or avoid Zoom fatigue?
Oh, wow. Zoom fatigue. This is interesting. Anna mentioned earlier Google as a verb. So I think we're marching down the path of Zoom becoming a verb. Do you want to Zoom with me later? It's kind of scary to think about how technology has impacted us, but Zoom fatigue is an interesting concept. I gave some thought to this, took some notes after I was thinking about it. And what I realized is that the definition is basically emotional and physical exhaustion from living in video calling platforms. So Zoom is just one of many. In my career right now, I've been working from home, actually. I'm in the office today, but I've been working from home for the last 27 straight weeks. So you can imagine how familiar I am with every little nook and cranny of the Zoom platform, every sound, every ding. So it starts to wear on you. And then you just lose sight of what your day means when you're in a collaboration platform, which has evolved since around March. They've enhanced it, they've enhanced the security, but the struggle with Zoom fatigue is real. But there's other platforms, so Skype, Microsoft Teams, Adobe Connect, Blue Jeans, Google Hangouts, Google Meet, all those things, you have the same kind of fatigue around. So I have some tips, and I'm just going to reference my notes from time to time. But the first thing that I would say that you need to do is do a baseline assessment of what causes you to have angst about Zoom or some other platform of the day, and make a plan, map out a plan to improve your experience with it. And there's things that you can control, and there's things that you can't control. Like, for example, the technology platform has limitations. Some of the limitations might be baked in by your IT organization, but there's configuration changes that you can do in most of these platforms to make your life easier. So give some thought to what your experience with Zoom is. Maybe you like being on the camera. Maybe you have frustrations with some of the cultural nuances that come with Zoom. Like, one of the things that happens is the clashing. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. No, you go ahead, go ahead. And there's a lot of time wasted in that space. But outside of that, one thing you want to watch out for with these collaboration platforms like Zoom is going from back to back to back meetings. It kind of wears on you after a while. So you're going to want to have time in your day to where you block out time to where you're not having back to back meetings, and you give yourself a chance to unplug and to do something else. If you were still in the office environment, it would be more of the same, where you step away from your computer, you stand up, you pivot your chair in another direction and do some work, shuffle around some papers on your desk just to break up that day. And you're still doing work and you're still being productive, but avoid scheduling back-to-back meetings if you can. Another thing would be to pick a meeting-free day if you can, or establish one day a week where you can get all of your meetings done, to where you just take it all in one fell swoop. That's just another if you can recommendation with a tool like Zoom or any of the other platforms that are out there. Another thing that you want to be mindful of is if there's an opportunity to opt out of video calls that aren't valuable or aren't productive, you might want to consider doing that. That's a cultural thing. I mean, you have to really assess what your culture will tolerate. This was all new. This whole, I call it new abnormal. It's just shocking to everyone's system because we all lost something out of this. Like I lost my commute, which was very near and dear to my heart. Having that time to quiet my mind. Now I'm in meetings from the time I wake up till the time I go to bed almost. And I learned a very valuable lesson recently where I had to carve out time to unplug because it was just taking over everything. So if you can, opt out of video calls that aren't necessarily that valuable to your workday or your work product. Also, another thing is once you have that baseline, you should look at other collaborative options that could substitute having to do a Zoom. So for example, instant messaging. Zoom actually has a pretty good instant messaging component, but I would advise turning off the drop sound that happens when you send an instant message. It could be very distracting when you're in a Zoom call with someone, or group texting. So these are just ways to mix up your day. This is where you have to adapt to change. This is where you have to embrace a new normal because this tool is your lifeline to staying connected to people. Another thing would be to just think outside the box about how you deliver content. And this was a really interesting recommendation that I want to pass along to you all. Think about if you have to have a status meeting with somebody, or think about if you have to have a message to your boss or a message for your team. What if you used a platform like Zoom to just record it in advance? And what if you could cut out the guesswork about what you're saying by just practicing, having a script, recording it, making it available to people to consume, download, or watch live or whatever, and then they can play it back as much as they want until they understand it. Think about that. That's pretty powerful. So that's just another way to think outside the box about how to deliver content. Or if you have a conflicting meeting, you can record it in advance, say what you have to say, and give it to somebody you know and trust for them to play.
Right.
Another thing would be to always have an agenda. I am not a big fan of wasting time in this new abnormal of remote. Our time is very valuable, so always have an agenda if you're chairing a meeting, and always insist upon an agenda so that you have a chance to prepare. I'm a big believer in preparing. Fail to plan, plan to fail. Another thing is, I already talked about it, but really look at your day, and if you have to have a bunch of Zooms, schedule breaks in between the calls. The sun is shining in San Diego like 300 days a year. Go outside, get some sunshine, make this platform work for you, because you can't reject it as much as you want to. And I'm not talking about Zoom, I'm talking about all the other platforms that I mentioned. And if you can, limit the distractions. So for example, you could hide viewing yourself, viewing you in the camera. You can just minimize something and you can just see the person that's speaking, anything to keep you focused on the task at hand. And Amber had mentioned earlier, turning on the camera. Well, if you're in a lot of Zoom meetings and the culture requires you to keep the camera on, you might want to consider it turning it off from time to time. Sometimes you need to step away. Be sure you have a nice picture for people to look at when you step away. But just in general, you want to limit the distractions around you, because this camera, this is a part of your brand now. So think about it. Every day is an interview. That was why I mentioned that earlier. I think it is key. How you conduct yourself on Zoom or any other platform is key, because you don't have that in-person interpersonal connection anymore. It's just gone for the foreseeable future. Maybe this is part of the new normal in general. Go figure, when I was at San Diego State, my last semester, I ended up jetting off to France. I didn't have many classes to take. Go figure, one of the classes that I opted not to take was something that's very hot right now, artificial intelligence. How about them apples? But I ended up in France, and my independent study project was, guess what? Virtual teams. I would love to think after this, I'm going to hit up the instructor and I'm going to get that virtual teams presentation and paper that I spent my 6 months in France writing. And I want to see what I wrote, because I want to see if I did something like Bill Gates and predicted the future. I don't know what I wrote, but I think I was touching upon that people are going to be working all over the place, and we're going to be very dependent on technology like we are right now. Zoom affects everybody from adults to kids. My kids had to do distance learning with Zoom, and they were rejecting it at times because it's just, it's a tough thing to have to stomach over and over. The last thing I would say,
Michael,
yeah.
We're actually we're going to transition, and I wanted you to just quickly wrap up what you were going to say, but we wanted to transition to taking some questions from the audience.
Sure. The last thing that I was going to say would be to just limit the multitasking on this platform. You don't want to be distracting people that you're participating with.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you. Thank you. So now we're going to just open up the chat for questions for panelists, and we have until we have like 5 to 6 minutes. So students, again, alumni, faculty, and others, if you want to ask a question, please put it in the chat, and I'll try to direct questions to our panelists here. All right, so I'm waiting on some questions to flow through now. All right, so we got some questions about when the AMP program starts, and we have a slide on that information. So just give us a second on that. Let's see. So here's a question from Jacob, and I think maybe Trevor or any of the panelists can ask it concerning LinkedIn. How important is it to post content, and what are best practices for posting content? And any of our panelists are open to take that one.
Yeah, so I'm going to come from a perspective of someone who doesn't necessarily post very often. So I'm not a high content producer or creator within the LinkedIn platform, but I do treat it as my primary social media outlet. So it's the feed that I most commonly go to kind of get a pulse for, you know, my industry, as well as the things that I like to follow, the companies that I like to follow, and the content producers that I follow. So, you know, I post occasionally. And obviously anything that I post generally has either a mentorship angle to it, or some sort of a cool programmatic thing that LinkedIn is doing to help kind of get the word out about it. But, you know, I don't know that there's as much of, you know, I don't know if I have a lot of guidance around like guardrails for posting on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is really kind of designed to be a professional platform. So as long as it's professional and you feel like it's you know, broadening your brand as a professional in your field, then I think it's relevant to start a discussion on any number of topics. I think the real key there, as long as it's related to your professional career, then, you know, go for it.
Thank you, Trevor. Did any other panelists want to chime in on that question?
Yeah, I could do something, but go ahead, Amber. See, there's the go ahead thing.
Okay, I will go ahead. I thank you. I post content on social media every single day for myself and for my clients, and every social media platform has a different approach, right? So Instagram, visual approach. Facebook is all about, connecting with people. LinkedIn, I think it's really important to be involved in conversations. So that means chiming in when appropriate, especially if it has to do with your professional network or something like that, more so than just the congratulations on your 1 year at your job. That's the new happy birthday on Facebook. It means nothing. I want to see some thoughtful interaction on LinkedIn, and I love a hot take. So if you see an article or something that really resonated with you, and you can share why or the takeaway or the value that you got from whatever it is, and give somebody a little TLDR, too long didn't read. I love those from people, and really sharing your professional experiences, not when you're in them, but when you're out of them and have a lesson. I think that's the key. So you're always looking to add value to the conversation. I would say of all of the social media platforms, LinkedIn is the one that I think you should post on least frequently, only really when you have something especially valuable to add.
Very cool, very cool. Thank you, Amber. And just for the sake of time, we are going to begin to transition here. I guess we'll take one more question. And so this question is for Anna Christina. And the question is, what are people in your industry specifically doing in terms of hiring in the midst of this pandemic?
Yeah, that is a great question. JPL just posted a video, an article about it today. JPL is still hiring interns and full-time employees. Someone did also ask if there's marketing positions at JPL. So JPL has engineering, science, and of course a whole business section. And the SDSU alumni at JPL is quite large in business and engineering and science. But they're still hiring. The only thing is most likely your first few months will be remote. You'll be meeting your team through Zoom, and you'll be getting your assignments through Zoom unless you're on a project, for example, Mars 2020, that requires you to be physically on lab. But yeah, still full force hiring from what I know.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you. Thank you. And so at this point, I just want to thank all of our alumni panelists for sharing tips and knowledge about the importance of marketing oneself at all times, but especially taking an initial step and going a bit further during these times to stand out, as well as sharing tips on how to build your network. Thank you, Michael, for sharing some insights, on, just avoiding Zoom fatigue and making sure that our students, our graduate students, and just all of us in general are aware that every day is an interview. So I really like that quote. So I want to thank you all, and I want to take a moment to ask each of you to share just some final words of wisdom for our audience. So if it's okay, I would like to just ask Amber, if you can start.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Again, I want to say thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here. So thank you so much for including me. My thought on this is I want you guys all to know you're going to be okay. You're in the right space right now. Showing up to this is telling me that you're on the right path. You're doing the right things. You're getting educated and taking care of your professional life. So just know the future you is proud of you right now. I know things can be a little bumpy, but it is going to be okay, and you guys are going to do great. So don't get caught up in what's happening right now. Just know that you're on the right path. I know there was a couple of questions in the Zoom group chat. I would love to continue to connect with you all. You can find me on LinkedIn. I am very active on Instagram. My company just started a new Instagram page. I answer every single DM. You can find us at AF Marketing. That's AFMKTG on Instagram. And I will respond to any DM, any question. I'll send you guys a video, a voice note, whatever you need. I'm a resource.
Thank you, Amber. You're such a rock star, and I'm happy that we got you on the panel. And so next, I'm going to ask Trevor, same thing, last words of wisdom.
Yeah, and thank you again for having me. You know, for me, my journey through my youth and education journey was one where I didn't necessarily think that I'd go to college or grad school or anything like that. I graduated high school with a 3.0 GPA, didn't get in any schools I applied to, went to junior college and then transferred to San Diego State. Was inspired through the faculty at San Diego State to pursue this career path that I was on, and went on to get a master's degree in San Jose State. So I'd say my words of wisdom would be just not let anyone define your potential. If you really want to do something, then put in the work and try and make that dream a reality. There's no one on this call that isn't capable of whatever they put their mind to.
Thank you so much, Trevor. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Words of inspiration are more important than we realize. So thank you again. I'm going to ask that same question. Words of wisdom from Anna Christina.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I learned so much from the other panelists, especially being early in my career. So thank you. My final thoughts and words of wisdoms to all you students would be, do your best to get involved, especially early on, or it's never too late, even if you're a junior or senior. I know with things being all online right now because of the pandemic, may be difficult to get that hands-on experience that you might need for an engineer, but join, a networking club or any club that you can go talk to other students in your major, and get advice from them when it comes to classes or how they got their internship. I really believe it all starts from getting involved, and then your career will kind of branch and grow from there.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Anna Christina. And Michael, last words of wisdom.
All right. So thank you, everyone, for your participation in this. I hope that you found this extremely helpful and insightful, and most important, inspiring. So I would say that I have two things for you. Your career is going to be a long journey, and there's going to be ups and downs, highs and lows. So remember this: hills hurt and couches kill. So I'm telling you that because you need to stay motivated. You need to stay hungry. You need to keep your resume updated, and you need to keep evolving. So the next thing I'm going to leave you with is to know and grow your core. You have to know who you are, and as you heard earlier, what you can offer at your core, so that you can evolve and you can adapt and you can grow and change, so that, as I put in the chat, at the end of your career, you tell this beautiful story.
Awesome. Awesome. And that's what we need. Sometimes it's not about how you begin, but how you finish, and all the beautiful challenges that we've overcome as students, as employers, as faculty, and other positions that our audience occupies. So thank you again, Michael. And so at this time, we're wrapping up this event. This is again our first virtual Amplify event. And so it's not too late to start. Register for AMP at amp.sdsu.edu. And be sure to request a mentor by September 25th, 2020. So for those who still need a mentor, you got a couple days, so definitely jump on that. Next, we have put out the new career guide. Career Services has released this career guide for undergraduates, graduates, alumni, and others. It's a complete career readiness tool. This career guide is designed to help those who read through it to master career strategies to help secure a job that it is you want, a sustainable career as well. So this is available on Career Services website, and you can download that PDF and take a look at the content in there. And last but not least, save the date, spring 2021. Students can register and request mentors between January 19th and February 26th. We're giving you a heads up so that you're ahead of the curve and can lock in a mentor for the spring semester. And so once again, I just want to thank our panelists for making yourselves available and sharing knowledge and advice with our students. We know that these are some very unnormal times, but as one of my mentors told me, never let a crisis go to waste. So take advantage of every day and every opportunity, even in a crisis. So with that, I just want to say thank you again, panelists. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, James. And thank you, audience, for participating in the first virtual Amplify event. One last thing before we go. We are asking if all of the students, alumni, and mentors can share the best way that they can be reached in the chat, as well as we want to ask all the attendees to type one takeaway from this event that resonated with you, or that you feel you can go and apply as early as tomorrow, a tool that you feel you can apply as early as tomorrow. So with that, thank you again. I'm happy to have MC this event, and I'll be checking out some of the information y'all put in the chat. So thank you again.